Hi, I'm Russ Moyer. Welcome to the Prophetic Edge. I'm going to share with you this morning my part 2 on my series concerning the end-time church and what it's to look like. Can these bones live? The restoration of the church, the season of restoration, all the different types of models that God has in this hour and season. I want you to know that there are going to be many of them that are going to be released in this time. As God refreshes us, revives us, restores us, it's a season of recompense and reward. It's a season when He's going to draw forth the end-time army, going to restore and rebuild the church according to the biblical New Testament model of the first century church, but in brand new containers in this hour in different settings, and we need to know what they look like and the diversity of them. And I'm going to gathering and filling the water pots. In the early stages of the release and the moment of miracles in the life of Christ, at the wedding feast of Cana, where He was about to perform His first miracle, on the prompting of Mary, His mother, her instructions to those around was, go and bring the water pots and fill them. Her main instruction was, whatever He says, do it. That was her instruction. He's saying, gather these water pots. Gather these water pots. I'm going to tell you right now, He is gathering together His water pots, and He's going to fill them to overflowing. He's going to do a miracle. Let's say that symbolically these water pots are the different aspects of the end-time church, the different containers that He's going to fill and pour out of. These containers, these water pots, sometimes were used and empty. Fill them with water and refreshing. But the Lord is going to convert them to wine. The new wine that's going to flow in the 21st century end-time church. It's not going to be one container or one type. One of the problems that we have when we're taking a look at, we usually look from our own personal perspective. Maybe from our own experience in history, learning and education, from our desire to move into a familiar situation where we're comfortable. We, for some reason, don't look at the broader picture of what God is doing by getting a kingdom vision from His eyes. I want you to know it's not just going to be great stadiums with crusades and campaigns filled with evangelism and outreach. Although that will be one of the end-time containers, but not the only one. If that's the area God's calling you to, obviously align with that. But recognize all the others, because they all have new wine in them. They're just different containers. One of the great containers that I believe and great models that God is putting forth right now is revival hubs arising, and they are going to rise up all across the nations, but particularly in North America. You're going to see these revival hubs and apostolic resource centers pop up all over the place. And they're going to be a mighty part that they're going to play in the end time harvest. I believe from them you're going to see torrential rains, streams in the desert, waves of blessing. But not just them. God is going to pour out in all the containers. Yes, in those you're going to see revival fire, fresh fire burn. You're going to see the restoration of tabernacle worship. You're going to see the equipping and the empowering and launching of the saints. You're going to see the apostolic fivefold in operation. You're going to see the council. You're going to see healing centers. You're going to see marketplace ministry. You're going to see a place where people can come and go and gather. A place where the well is dug and they can come and drink, be refreshed, and go back. All of these things are going to be part of these revival hub centers. But that's not the only model. He's also going to use the big stadium model, the great crusades, the great campaigns, the great evangelistic outreaches, even the gathering of the saints in conference and large settings, like he did on the Sermon on the Mount. They're both going to be very important. But we need to be able to recognize both and know our place and know our alignment and when and where to go and how to act and when to go. And just because we go to that place and get refreshed, get recharged, get renewed, that doesn't mean that's our dwelling place. God's going to use home churches in this season. I believe that this is the third type of vessel I want to talk to you about, but the home churches are going to be absolutely an incredible place, and a place where people can come back to, get touched, get reconnected, that have been hurt in larger settings, that are afraid to step back into traditional church where they've been hurt. The home church networks, homes ablaze, homes on fire, are going to play a very important part. But these are not just going to be independent homes. These homes ablaze that I'm talking to you about are going to be networked together, so there's continuity, so there's protection, so there's safety, so there's covering, so that there's accountability. Many that come out of this home church network, that go into it, get refreshed in it, get strengthened, will go to another type of ministry, another type of container to fulfill their destiny. But this is a stopping point and a point that they can come to for the healing and the hope and relationship they need. It's a bridge God's building back in. But also the Homes Ablaze network, many of them are going to end up in the underground church that is coming our way, that will be one of the containers. I want to tell you that the underground church is not going to be operated by the zealots who are loud on social media and other forms now, because the true underground church will be exactly that. They will be underground. They will not draw attention to themselves. They'll come from all the different containers, but he is preparing the underground church and wisdom and strength and leaders right now who will have the wisdom of what to say, what not to say, how to conform while at the same time bringing great strength for the future once the church is in the fullness of persecution. And the North American Western church loses its ability to be independent and give tax-deductible receipts and charitable status. It'll be pushed underground. And in that state, there will be a breed of leader that will know and will understand the gathering principles, the networking principles, but they will remain below ground. So they will, the home church system will play a role, bringing people back, a place to come to be healed, a small place where they'll be able to be relational, be free, be able to move in the gifts of the Spirit, be able to open to discussion, relationship, and fellowship, go house to house, just like Acts 20:20. That's not one house, but house to house. They were talking about a house network that was there. I believe that these house churches are going to come under an apostolic, prophetic, end-time covering that will provide them with protection and guidance and leadership, that will resource them, strengthen them, keep them connected to their root and to their source, keep them balanced. Because now you got to remember they're out there themselves. 15, 20, 30 people in a home. So there needs to be that connection to the rest of the family of God. There needs to be that continuity, that relationship, that covenant understanding, that protection, that prayer, that knowing that they belong to something larger, but they happen to be the PT boats that God is going to use in a lot of these situations, along with small local churches that have an understanding, which is the next vessel. God is going to use many small local churches that seem like they were born on the backside of nowhere, but they have been hungry and chasing God. They look so unique and unusual, it's hard to recognize them, but they're going to be like the PT boats that go in, and during World War II, they were easy to maneuver. They have the basic and sound structure of the New Testament model church, but their size becomes an advantage. Their unity in relationship, their forms of communication, and their connection to the community will give these small churches that are firefight teams credibility, capability, maneuverability, so that they will be able to respond to the needs of the moments at the point of contact. They're going to be easy to turn and easy to steer. I'm not discounting another form of container or jar or water pot that we know as denominational church. I don't believe that God is going to cast aside denominational church or even mega churches. Will they be primarily used? I see these others as much easier to establish and recognize in the need of the end time church. But God will not discard them unless they choose to go in a different direction. If they're willing to yield and submit, the large denominational churches that are affiliated and scattered, the mega churches, the small churches, the diverse churches of the denominations that are in different cities and traditions and cultures, God will use them and establish them with fresh order and fresh orders, with fresh direction. But they're going to have to yield, submit, and change, just like all the rest of us. We're all in a season of change and transition. Let's recognize those churches that are denominational, that they are in a denomination, but the denomination is not in them. God will choose them if they choose to be one of the remnant churches and not allow the fullness of organization and church and religion and structure and man-made government to rule them. You can amen me. And I've worked churches, large churches, denominations, conferences. I've traveled across North America and 25 nations of the world. I've seen many of these different containers. Some in every category are still working and drinking from the old wine. He sent them for fresh containers to gather them and fill them. First with water to be refreshed. And then he turned that into the new wine. They're the containers that he'll use. Other end-time containers and other types of diverse end-time models that God is going to use, in my opinion, is outreach parachurch organizations, like Band of Brothers, like outreaches in the community, like Centers for Excellence, that do community service work and at the point of contact, including marketplace ministers, and that will gather together people that will feed the hungry, house the homeless, support the needs of that season, redirect, disciple, mentor. They're going to come from all different backgrounds. They're going to be business people. They're going to be community social workers. They're going to be grassroots governmental people with a call to ministry. They're going to fill both natural and spiritual needs. They're also going to fill the void that has been left in our society that allows our society to live in lawlessness. These outreach ministries are going to be a beacon and a light and a lighthouse in the midst of the storm, where people will be able to come to for safety, for security, to meet their personal needs, natural and spiritual, to connect and gather together across denominational lines. The Kingsway Center, the Community Enrichment Corporation, for Excellence here in Pensacola, Florida. They're going to crop up all over the place. Jamie's Mom's House, abortion, anti-abortion groups that are going to gather in the community and bring together information, knowledge, help, and assistance that goes in and travels into vessels that are reaching out there, offering some form of spiritual adoption. So, highlighting alternatives that are going to affect our community, both with morals and values and principles our nation was based on, but also spiritual principles that are biblical in nature and are going to use spiritual people to bring impact. And those units are going to be they're going to play a huge role in this end-time move of the Spirit that I believe is going to go through the church and into the world, into the marketplace, into the outreach centers, into the parachurch organizations that are moving in the Spirit, that are gathering together people, doing the work of evangelism, also meeting the needs of their community. I believe that they are one of the huge containers that God is going to use. I'm telling you about these containers, about these water pots that God is gathering and filling right now. He's picking the leaders out of Psalm 50, verse 5, where he said, gather together my saints, those that have made covenant with me by their sacrifice. These are people that have left things behind and left the comforts of a local church, and they've expanded that out into the community. They've gathered together people from all different tribes and tongues and nations. They've broken down barriers. They've taken the risk. They've ventured outside of the safety zone. These are people that are in harm's way spiritually. They're going to need spiritual covering. They're going to need spiritual prayer. They're going to need a home base, a home place. They're going to need to be connected properly with the church and with apostolic coverings and with apostolic ministries and prophetic ministries that can give them what they need, the prayer, the covering that they need, the relationship they need, the spiritual strengthening that they need, the support that they need, the financial resources and the access and protection and unity that they can receive by staying connected to traditional church. But they are an end-time water pot. These parachurch organizations are going to be essential. Marketplace ministries are going to be essential. That's another kind where full gospel businessmen, band of brothers, small Christian business groups and organizations, meeting even inside large organizations where they will allow groups to gather. Homes ablaze, stadiums. I'm reviewing them all again for you, but now here's a biggie. College and school campuses. Campus-style ministry. God's going to use them in the end days. As much conflict as there is right now, I'm telling you that God is going to move in college campuses again and again and again. High school campuses, through organizations that gather them like campus ministries. And ministers are going to go there, and missionaries that God has ordained and assigned to campus ministry are going to begin to develop, and they're going to begin to grow from the inside out. Speakers are going to come from outside that are going to bring religious and spiritual principles into the college arena and bring back. See, these colleges were originally by leaders and ministers. They're going to make a comeback here with campus ministry. It's going to include the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, which are groups of people that gather together. They're also going to be a part of the parachurch organizations like I'm talking about that are all outreach. These are different pots, containers, water pots being filled and refreshed now, going to be turned to wine, the new wine, and poured out. So you'll know the vessel when you see the vessel. Prepare your heart for the new breed of missionary. I'm telling you, there's a new missionary model that's being raised up. I'm not saying that God is going to stop using the missionaries that are permanently planted in the land. There are outposts that God plants in the different nations of missionaries. And the blessing that's coming to the church in these end days is on the blood of the martyrs, and many of them were missionaries. The end-time church must have a revelation, an arm of missions. Missions, domestic and foreign, with missionaries assigned to locations that will set up outposts. But the new breed of missionary that's going to come in this generation is again, from that same apostolic root of being sent to the mission field. They are going to be short-term missionaries that are sent to and bringing supplies They're going to ride the camels in. There'll be the camels in the spirit. There'll be the planes that come in that support, that bring supplies to the outpost and to the bases, to the churches and units that are in that nation. Rather than playing a forefront planted role, they're going to support the entire church, capital C, in that nation, and they will do short-term mission. That's the new missionary model that's being released. One of the reasons why it is now is because they will be able to fortify the work through means of social media, through short-term teams that come in, train, prepare, equip, support, work with, come for a period and leave, build buildings, set places, push back darkness, do evangelistic crusades, support all the local churches that are in that region. They'll come in and do leadership training seminars. Now, that's what we've been doing the last 15 years, and that, to me, is one of the indigenous models of church. When the missionary goes in, not only do they establish a base, but they equip and empower the indigenous people and different groups within that people or nation, and they come back again and again and support them and send teams to support them. That's the indigenous model that does have an outpost, but it's more attuned to the church at large in that nation and ministers in and out with a kingdom revelation rather than just one local church or work that they did. It's not that they're going to forsake that church that they did or that one they work with chiefly, but that is going to be a launching pad to the kingdom now missionaries and teams going in. So it's the new missionary model of short-term missions, both domestic and foreign. So when I say domestic, like the local church, rather than go out and do an outreach, they'll go and support and strengthen the outreaches that are already existing, the ones other churches under the Big C church of the city are in, so that there's not a duplication, but a support and strengthening and focus and function, each doing their role and part. Okay, these are the missionary teams and one of the containers that the Lord is going to use in a magnificent way. All right, the other area that I believe is going to be very important in how the church is going to open, operate, are through fellowships. And I'm not talking about a local fellowship. I'm talking about kingdom fellowships as opposed to denominations. These fellowships are broader in base, but they walk in covenant. They are family and relationship oriented. They have the freedom and liberty for each of the ministers and missionaries to allow them to function in their diversity. They will not be cooker-cutter denominations, churches that do one thing over and over. These will be broad-based apostolic fellowships with a kingdom vision that will allow all of these different containers to walk together, blend together, support one another, and leverage the power and strength of each so that they rise up together in one location. They will certainly also do the work of discipleship and mentoring and launching and organizing, guiding, directing, ordaining, credentialing, commissioning people into their right place, posture, and position. And we have Eagle Worldwide Ministries, which is our apostolic and prophetic covering with over 300 ministries, churches, outreaches, ministers. Every style that we're talking about here, marketplace groups, people that work in college and church settings, people that travel as evangelists, that go to the nations, that work in stadiums. You're going to find that they are going to connect in this new season with fellowships as opposed to denominations, so that they can get the broad base coming together with all of its diversity, all of its protection, all of its support, all of its individuality, so that they will function under a fivefold format that's foundational and allow building. This group will understand it's an upside-down kingdom where the apostolic and prophetic covering is on the bottom. The people are on the top. And each one of the groups and organizations and churches and containers have direct access up. These water pots that are being filled, multiplied and duplicated into networks of networks, are going to join these apostolic prophetic fellowships and networks, so that they have the Lord over them, but they have the covering, support, and protection, the undergirding, the fellowship and walk with, support that's necessary, so that they're not alone. No matter how remote they may be, no matter how small, no matter how large, no matter how complicated, how simple, no matter how deep they are into the harvest or how shallow they may be, they're going to be places, these networks are going to be places of apostolic birthing and building. And a new breed of leader is not only going to come out of them, but they're going to come into there. And they'll be equipped with the apostolic principles that are necessary, and the giftings and the callings of the fivefold will find their way in place. And they'll come in maybe in one location, but they'll find their way into the different streams and rivers and where they belong and how. Plus, they'll have gathering times like we do with summer camp and winter camp. They'll have personal and direct involvement with the ambassadors that we send out to walk with them and work with them, cooperate with them, and to be an extension of fivefold ministry and apostolic foundations that are involved in the group and organization, so that they can stay connected in the little and the large, all the way over in this and over in that and up here, and no matter where they're at. This is a broad canopy. This is a broad umbrella. This is a broad tent that people are coming under. And we're wounded, we're hurt, in all different places, all different kinds of reasons. Let's not rehearse all of that. Let's get reconnected, reassigned, redefined. Let us get healed. Let us get whole. Let us come to a place where we legitimately get refreshed, revived, restored, where we can reclaim the surrendered ground. In this book by Jim Logan, it's about protecting family, groups, organizations, cities, churches from spiritual attacks, about reclaiming the ground that we've lost or surrendered. There's ways to do that. And centers that are going to be established and fellowships where they'll bring back the restoration of the church as these bones begin to shake together. They'll understand spiritual warfare aspect of apostolic end-time ministry, and they'll raise hell. There'll be spiritual warriors that take it right to the root, that take the evil of this world and the darkness of this world and take an axe to the root. They'll be made up of leaders along the lines of the sons of Issachar that will lead on the prophetic edge in the midst of change. They'll understand the power of revelation, that will understand how to live on the prophetic edge and how to live in the work and discern and interpret revelation and dreams and visions. Who will learn how to walk in the glory realm and bring understanding of the glory to the nations, like it says in Habakkuk 2:14, through their missionary efforts. Again, these are all the different water pots. I want you to see them. I want you to know them. I want you to get refreshed. God is going to use them all. Let's gather them together and fill them up and let God bring forth the new wine. Let him fantastic and amazing, spectacular spiritual change. From water to wine. The miracle is here. It's now. The greatest season of the church in all of history. Right now, if you're disconnected, if you're out there somewhere, if you're wandering around, if you feel like, wow, what I really need is to connect, to get together, I want you to contact me. If you're interested in any of this end-time material, prophetic material of what the church looks like, again, if you contact us now and share that this happened from the Prophetic Edge, just message us with Prophetic Edge 101. You know, whether you send us an email, a text, whether you reply or respond to our website or to this Prophetic Edge thing, just put that you want some of this material and we're going to get it to you at half price. So come on and join in, see where you're at. Come on, I want you to have eyes to see and ears to hear. I want you to know that it's not about Eagle Worldwide. This is about the kingdom. It's not about one ministry, one group, one mission, one way to do it. There is diversity in all of this. What we have to get away from is our one way of thinking, our one way of doing, our one way of leading. We have to broaden our base and encompass everyone and everything under this kingdom canopy that God is establishing. See how he's doing, how you use it, where you belong, who you connect with, where is the vision matching your vision, where does your talent and ability come into play, how is God leading and directing you by the Spirit, what relationships and divine appointments has he developed, what things has he said before that are coming alive now. Can you feel the streams just coming together? Can you feel your way coming? Can you see right now? Right now, dynamite, boom, is hitting that log jam of where you've been stuck and where you've been standing. Right now, he's clearing the way. Right now, the timbers are coming. Right now, they're coming right now, those that are going to stand and be the pillars in the house. Those that are going to be the gems that are going to be placed in the foundation. Right now, the log jam is breaking, and there's a flow of the river coming in your own life, a flow of revelation and guidance, direction, to the place, to the people, to the moment in time, to your mentors, to those that will disciple you and pastor you and launch you and take you to your right place in the body. Let the river flow. Let the river carry you now to your place. Stand up and take your place. Do all you can. Arise and shine. Arise to the moment, to this moment in time, to this moment of destiny. Arise and shine. Take your place. Report for duty. The army of God is being repositioned company by company. Let the hungry come. Let the thirsty come. Let the needy come. Let the 11th hour workers come. Let the prodigals come. Come again. Come under the canopy. Come into a relationship. Come into alignment. Come back into your place. Your safe place. Your place of grace. Your place of mercy. Your place right now. Come. Come wherever you're at. Come. Hey, touch something. Touch someone. Call someone. Move now. Move into your place. Come back to church. Come back to your position in church, in the establishment and placement that God has. Not of just an organization or a group, but your place as church. Come back in. Stand up. Step in. Step out. God bless you and your family. With eyes to see and ears to hear, wisdom and discernment, to know this great and amazing timing of God for you. God bless you, and you have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me on the Prophetic Edge. Let's stay connected.